Welcome to Otaku Bout, the podcast where we talk about any and everything in otaku culture. I'm your host, Shelby.
And I'm Lawrence, your co-host. And today we have a special guest joining us, hailing from North Cal. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, this is Steph from StephStone Cosplay.
Alright, really cool.
Yes, pleasure to have you.
It's good being here.
Yes, I'm sure we will have you multiple times.
Yeah.
Just a side note, guys, this is like close to midnight, but we're going to do this podcast anyways.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Alright, so welcome to episode 2. And this episode, we are going to talk about cosplay. What is it? What is cosplay? What is cosplay to us? What is it in general otaku culture?
Yeah, I feel like that's a very like what do you call it? A topic that has not been defined yet, or like a definition for cosplay, right?
Well, I
mean, there's the Google definition.
Oh,
if we bring this up.
Okay, yo, Google blessing us with some knowledge. Go ahead,
yes.
Shelby.
So, cosplay, according to Google Dictionary, is the practice of dressing up as a character from a movie, book, or video game, especially one from the Japanese genres of manga and anime.
Oh, okay. But then you can say Halloween is a cosplay too.
Technically, I mean,
right?
by definition.
But we're gonna like define it in our terms.
Yeah. So Steph, what is cosplay?
Please.
I mean, that's a very complicated, not necessarily complicated, but I feel like that can be a complex answer, because I feel like there's a lot of things that you need to take into consideration when you're examining it, because that's what the definition of it is, and it's if you look at, for example, the etymology, to my understanding, the word cosplay is born out of the two words costume and play.
Yeah.
And so when you take those aspects, it's the costume aspect of cosplay is obviously the costume that you do put on, so what you guys were saying, where it's sort of similar to Halloween, but I think it's also important to consider the play aspect, which a lot of people I feel have interpreted in a couple different ways, but one of the common definitions that I hear that I discuss with my friends is the concept of bringing the character to life.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think in my limited practice of cosplay, I've only been cosplaying for a year now.
Yeah, you've done so many, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I love it. But it's more of both embodying the character and then bringing their personality and their traits into the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're kind of performing, but it's more so out of love and admiration for the thing you're embodying, whether it's from books or video games. But it's more than just putting on, the costume itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more than the clothing.
I get it. No, I think I know. I understand where you guys come from, because I feel like in the realm of Halloween, you can dress up as a zombie and not necessarily be from a realm, but you can be the character of zombie. So in the sense of cosplay, it's like a fandom kind of. You have to be in a realm of by Google definition, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you guys mean, a love for a character, versus you can be, your generic Party City werewolf, and
yeah,
zombie.
You're not howling at the moon outside.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
But then when you look at people who do zombie crawls, where they get full on effects makeup and act like a zombie, would they be cosplaying, or are they just in costume?
No, okay. I think you bring up a really good point. I think in the sense of that, because a zombie is a very generic character from any realm. It's you don't. I mean, if you're a particular zombie from a particular realm,
yeah,
then
that
yes.
one zombie from Walking Dead, or
from episode 2.
because you would say that makes it cosplay.
Yeah, but I think.
But it's they have specific costumes at. If you've ever been, I don't know if you've been to a Spirit Halloween lately, but I mean they do sell costumes there. They have Naruto.
They do.
Last year they had My Hero Academia.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. They sell costumes that you can use there as well. So
I think it's slowly, cosplay has been slowly integrated into the Halloween. I mean, we've seen that in the past decade, in which the trend of cosplaying or pop culture is emerged.
But are you saying cosplay in the culture as just anime being taken into mainstream, or
No.
the act of embodying that character?
I feel the act of embodying the character has been around for since San Diego. The first Comic-Con. I mean, I'm sure when like Star Wars, you know, like episode 7, 6, 7.
I don't know the.
But they dressed. I'm sure people
6.
dressed up, you know, and like the Darth Vader and like the Jedi. So in a way, those were like the early stages of like cosplay.
Well, in like pop culture, because again, it like, I feel like it kind of depends too, because it's like cosplay, in theory, is like the practice of dressing up and impersonating someone else.
But so then, what did you say, a zombie?
Like in theory, like that's what it is. So it's like you could date it back farther, but it's like
To like theater.
yeah, because
theater
it
people.
has like I feel like it has ties with that, but it's like I feel like the pop culture aspect is like important to like defining what
Modern day
cosplay is.
I
So I feel like it's important to consider that
I agree with
element. And then when you're considering something like when you say a generic zombie,
like if you're like Walking Dead zombie with what's the main guy? What's his name?
Rick?
Brick
I
or
guess.
Daryl.
Yeah, the guy that gets more facial hair as the season goes on.
That's Rick.
Yeah.
Okay. That I know.
That is his defining characteristic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of it is, I feel like a big part of it is kind of like whether you define it as cosplay or not. Because it's like, if you're going to a Halloween event dressed as like a Walking Dead character, because it's like regular people, I don't know, it's like, because it's...
Do you think the fact that it's the day, like, where it's socially acceptable to dress up as these characters, that it makes a difference in what if you define it as cosplay? Because, like, if someone dressed up as, you know, Ed from Full Metal Alchemist on Halloween,
Yeah.
like, I wouldn't initially be like, oh, they're a cosplayer. I'd be like, oh, they're going to a Halloween party or something.
Well, from an outsider's perspective, but it's like, I believe with that pop culture aspect, like I feel like if you're in the cosplay community and you were to see like someone dressed as Edward for Halloween, you would know. I feel like the automatic assumption is like you'd know that they're a cosplayer.
Is it because it's anime or because it's like...
I think because it's anime. So that's why I think the pop culture aspect's important.
But then anime's not, but cosplay's not necessarily like what do you call it? Married to like anime, because you can have like
No, but if you like, I mean, like with that example specifically, I think like looking at Edward, I feel like you would automatically assume because it's a pop culture thing that it would be cosplay. But if it was like Darth Vader, I feel like you have a harder time telling.
Because it's more like mainstream.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I think that like niche aspect is kind of what sets it apart. But it's also like, where do you draw the line when cosplayers are like, oh, I'll wear my cosplay for Halloween?
That is a big...
Okay, that's interesting. Well, actually, what's cosplay for you then?
So, well, because I think the biggest thing is like what makes Halloween separate is that like people wear one costume for that one day a year and that's it, never again.
So you think cosplay has a repeated aspect in it?
I would say so. Like, I mean, there's definitely costumes that people have that they only wear once and never again. But I feel like being a cosplayer is like returning to it. And it's like...
Because you like love that character?
Okay,
Yeah.
I got it, guys. Can I say this? No, I feel like
I mean, I have my own definition for cosplay separate that I feel like makes it entirely unique. But
oh, like let's hear it. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I want to hear like I feel like
Well, no, before you lose your train of thought.
yeah.
go.
Before I lose my train of thought, I feel like Halloween, like the reason why Halloween is like such a it's like so specific in this realm of cosplay is because the intention, like why people dress up in the first place, is it because of the love for a character, or is it because of the celebration of Halloween that they do it? You know,
That's a good point. Yeah.
So then, like for example, Halloween, sometimes people will dress up that would not usually dress up other than Halloween.
Mhm.
So like they are doing it in terms of like the celebration of the the spirit of Halloween, versus cosplayer where you're going to get into character, dress up, despite it being Halloween, but merely for like, I guess the love for the character.
I feel like that love for the character is probably the most defining thing against like most pop culture things, because like I was just thinking, because sometimes people will do costume parties, but what separates like a costume party from like a cosplay party? And I feel like with a costume party, you would look for, you know, I feel like the process is sort of similar, where you would look for like something that you would like to wear that is like in the theme of the party. But I think if you're doing like a cosplay party, like everyone there will be wearing typically like a cosplay of someone that they like or have some sort of like personal bias towards.
Okay.
That extends beyond like the concept of the character, but rather for the character themselves.
Rather than just like the appearance.
Yeah. Like, if you were to have a costume party where everyone's dressed up as, like, Star Wars, for example, like...
Okay, yeah.
Then people at the costume party, like, you would get, like, a ton of Leias because people are like, oh, yeah, Leia's, like, kind of popular and it's, like, easy to get her costume. But it's, like, if you were to have, like, a cosplay party with, like, Star Wars, I feel like there's, like, more diversity and people would have, like, more, like specific reasons
Why
for, like,
they chose
cosplaying
that
those
character.
characters that extends beyond just, like, a costume party with like people you work with at an office.
Yeah,
I agree. Okay.
so one of my things is like, so what is cosplay to you guys? Because like my dad, if he's listening, hi dad,
Hey Steve.
he asked me, like, he understands that cosplay is dressing up, like he gets that. I think that's a pretty like social stigma of cosplayers, is that they get dressed up on, you know, days aside from Halloween.
Yes.
But he wanted to know like why I enjoy it, why I keep coming back to
Drop
it.
some knowledge.
I
Drop
have
some knowledge.
Okay, I have like a really good answer to that, in my opinion. Like,
Okay.
I'm very satisfied with this because I had a very long conversation with some friends on like our 3-hour car ride back up to NorCal.
Yeah.
Okay.
About
So what would you tell someone if like, why do you cosplay?
So I feel like the most defining thing about cosplay that you can't get out of any other hobby is what I call like the shared experience. Because basically when, like, in a very generic, like, sort of like standpoint, when you're looking at it, like, traditionally, cosplay is like when you find a character that you are so attached to because of like some reason or another, whether their story resonates with you or you admire them or something. Like, generally you find a character that you like for some reason or another and you decide that you're going to cosplay that character. And what cosplaying entails is bringing that character to life. So, you know, you go through so many things like to put that costume together, to buy it or whatever, but ultimately like you become that character. And then you would wear that out to an event, or you would find some way to be in some public setting with it, whether it's like you post pictures of it online or you go to an event. But it's like, typically when people cosplay it, they go out in settings where they can meet other people. And then when you're in those settings, you have the ability, because of what you're wearing, to meet other people that are also fans of what you're wearing. And like, if you're cosplaying like Naruto or something and other people love Naruto, it's like you automatically have that connection where if people walk up to you, they're like, oh my gosh, I love Naruto. You know, they know that because that's what you're dressed as. And like, if you've made the costume or whatever, like, people can appreciate your hard work, but it's like you have that connection with someone else that appreciates what you appreciate automatically, that you can get through cosplay. And I feel like the added dimension of that experience is like, if you've made the costume yourself or something like that, or if like there's any sort of like special, you know, meaning or regard in anything, like you get that connection like far like more like quicker, like, and it's more like instant with like people you don't really know when you're cosplaying.
Yeah, I think Shelby and I were talking about this, like how it creates like an opportunity, like it's an easy conversation starter.
Yeah, it definitely is like a tool for social interaction, or like breaking that initial wall, or helping
Without asking, right?
Yeah, because like, you're broadcasting that you love this show, you love, you know, maybe you love this character, parts about this character, you relate to it, and that's putting out a signal to other people
to just like come and talk to you about it, right?
That you have that, you know,
connection
with each other.
Yeah. Because I've always felt, and that was something that like really struck me as very different, and I was very cognizant of that fact throughout high school, but I didn't really think about what it was, like why behind it. But like, I always knew conventions were way friendlier than anywhere else. Like, in any other space of my life, I felt far more comfortable at conventions, and I felt like people in general were far more comfortable with one another. And I mean, there's like a plethora of reasons like behind that, but I mean, like, that's not really what we're talking about because that deals more with like conventions in general. But it's like, I feel like the cosplay scene and like part of the community and everything with it means that like you are much more able to connect and share positive emotions with people you don't know. And I feel like that's something that's very unique to cosplay, where I feel like that's probably one of the most beautiful things about cosplay, is that it just allows for that like quick connection and celebration, where it's like you don't necessarily have to have like so much build-up. It's like two strangers can meet and just be excited and happy, and you have a lot of like friendships that can form from that.
I want to add, I agree with you, like, 1,000%. I think it's like because you first usually cosplay, like in general, like cosplay happens at conventions. We have the occasional gatherings too. But however, I mean, the most part, cosplay happens at convention. But I think it's the expression, like you're able to express your love for an anime or a character.
Yes.
That makes it so, I guess, fulfilling. That you can just express how you feel for a character, and then like how other people like just vibe with you on that.
Yes.
I think that's like the super gratifying part about cosplay.
I would definitely agree with that. I mean, at least for me on a personal level, like I don't know if anyone can relate, but cosplaying, like with that, like, embodying that character, showing that love, it also helps build like self-confidence in yourself.
Definitely.
Because, or at least like work towards it, because it's kind of like, I'm sure some superhero movie had this, but when you put on the mask, like you feel
there's a sense of empowerment that comes along with putting on costumes of people that you, because like I know I for sure do this, where it's like if I admire a character, I want to cosplay them immediately.
Yeah, no, for sure, because like one of the characters like I cosplay like a lot is like Kirishima from My Hero Academia, and I love him because he's so energetic and outgoing, and like I want that for myself. And so when I'm wearing that costume, like truly embodying that character, it like helps build up my confidence so I can be outgoing and like cheerful like him.
That's cool.
And like people will come up because they see that character and like expect that, and so it kind of like helps,
it feeds into itself in that sense.
And
definitely.
so like practice
well,
makes
I mean,
habit.
I don't know if they expect that kind of behavior.
Some people
but I feel
kind of approach you in that mindset.
You've never had the experience where it's like you're in Bakugo and they're like, oh hey Bakugo, like where's Deku, or like
But I feel like that's like that's not the majority of interaction. More of it is like the people understand that you are not the character.
They do,
but
like you still do get like interactions where it's like, I mean, like for me, like growing up when I didn't have like a lot of self-esteem, I cosplayed a lot as like Lenily from D-Gramman, and she's like fairly typical of like everything else that like I cosplay, where she's like a very like friendly, like she's very much like the cute like girl that's like friends with everyone sort of character. And like I was super shy when I was younger. I mean, I'm still like really shy, but like when people it's like when people would like run after you, like saying your character's name, like asking for a photo and stuff like that, I feel like for like a second, like they don't necessarily like think that you're the character, but they address you like as the character,
which is really cool,
which is like it feels really awesome. And I super loved that like when I was younger, like, and I still like think it's really neat. Like I love when like people call each other by like their character names, but it's like that's who they are, because it's like when you're embodying the character, when you're wearing the costume, that's like like they don't know your name, they know you like as that character. So it's like they might not necessarily expect you to be that character, but I do believe to a degree people do
make like mental assumptions
that like you would be similar to that you would behave like if people approach like someone dressed as Deku, you'd expect them to be like wholesome. Nice.
Yeah.
They don't expect like a Deku cosplayer to be like a jerk, like because Deku's like a nice character. And I feel like there's like certain degrees of that. So it's like, and for example, if you do cosplay like intimidating characters, people have like, they're obviously going to be more intimidating because that's in the nature of the character. Like,
is that why you didn't come up to me the first time
as Bakugo? Bakugo's like supposed to be this like mean kid. Like he's not supposed to be approachable. Is that why? Well, I'm like I said, I'm a very shy person. So,
okay.
I mean, like, that's
but no, I don't think it's like you wouldn't approach someone who is dressed as like Orochimaru or something because you're like, oh, he's bad,
I know.
But
I can
you'd
vibe
be a
with you
little
on that.
more
Yeah, I can vibe with you on
Yeah,
that.
you'd be deterred.
But it's still, you make that like mental assumption, like, oh, like they're gonna be, you know, like sneaky, or you know,
It's
but like you don't associate that with the person. Like you can hopefully,
Yeah.
Like I think there's still the separation of person and cosplay.
Yes.
But like typically people, like I don't know.
There's a slight overlap, I think.
Yeah, but either you really like the design or you really resonate with the character. I feel like is a lot of what makes you choose a cosplay.
Yeah.
Like to cosplay a certain character.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for me it's definitely like the social connection. Like that is one of the main reasons why I keep cosplaying.
Yeah.
But also just because like, yeah, you have like a lot of hobbies and like there are a lot of ways you can express like creativity. But I think in cosplay, the mediums with which you work with is like really tests like your creative skills and like gives you like a lot of things to put your creative energy towards. And so like I love having that outlet to like express myself. And then of course, you know, the feels of like building my confidence like once I put that costume on, but knowing that I put like so much hard work into it, and like, you know, I learned how to like
I think so, yeah.
sew a shirt for this cosplay, like gives it a special like
It gives you like
significance.
it gives like gratification, you know, like okay, so like I mean, this is cool. I love it. But let's say for like the people that you guys are listening over here, some of you guys aren't cosplaying yet. So what's some advice you guys could say, you know, like for people that want to get into cosplay?
To just go for it.
Like where did we start?
I mean, for me at least, like I mean, I only have a year under my belt. You guys have what, like
9 times 9. I have time.
9,
11 years.
Yeah, so like I mean, for me, like I don't have that experience. So like my first cosplay was I bought it off,
Okay.
you know,
That's
Amazon. Like
Honestly,
Oh.
like, and I feel like that's something that more people should take advantage of, because I mean, like, sure, we've been cosplaying for a long time and we've seen the community grow a lot, but like that's exactly why we know that cosplay is way more accessible in this day and age than it was back then, because back then there was like
Oh my god.
a wig site, amphagori.com, and like
even
even
know what that is.
like that was where I would get my wigs, because they had crazy wigs. They weren't even like, there was no like epic cosplay wigs, there was no like Arda. There's no like
Rockstar wig.
Amazon didn't have like 2-day shipping, like Prime didn't exist. Like color contacts was super rare. People didn't know about EVA foam Warbler. Like none of that
Those are
existed.
trade
back
secrets,
then.
yeah.
Like there was nothing. And like in this day and age, you can definitely buy a costume off of Amazon to try and see. And I feel like that's the fastest and quickest way that you can experience what it's like to actually be in the cosplay community. And I think that's really important.
I think
So I mean, like there's always, with like cosplay too, it's like there's sort of like a stigma of I mean, there's like what is cosplay, but it's also like what makes you a cosplayer. And I feel like it's a very I mean, I feel like, and this topic could be like a completely different podcast as well, of like
go for it.
making versus buying, and like what it means like to be a cosplayer in those regards. And I mean, like, I personally think that like both can be defined like as a cosplayer. Some people feel like you can be like less of a cosplayer doing one or the other, but I feel like that's very limiting. And I think that like it's really important, especially for people who are just getting into cosplay, to embrace the idea of bot costumes, because I mean, cosplay is a very like, it's a tricky hobby. Like it is very multifaceted in how you can, you know, attempt different mediums to create different things. But as great as it is, I feel like it's like a double-edged sword, where it can be very overwhelming if you've never worked with anything, where it's like suddenly you have to figure out like how to use a sewing machine, how to do wigs, how to do makeup. Like there's a lot that goes into it, and I feel like it's good to utilize like shortcuts when you're easing yourself into this community.
Yeah, but I think that also goes back to like what we talked about at the beginning of this episode, is at least for us what cosplay is. I'm sure like let us know what cosplay is to you guys if you are cosplayers, but it should be about the expression of your love towards that character.
Yeah, number
like
one,
my first cosplay, I didn't have a wig. Like it was just me.
No love. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I was like, you know,
you're out of your
I
budget.
was still nervous and like
who wears wigs, right?
Yeah, like I was just like, how do you even like put on a wig? Like like you need a wig cap? Like what? But like it was because I wanted to express that love for the character, and like I wanted to see, you know, what it was like. And like even in just like the So I was Natsu from Fairy Tail.
Tell us that experience. I like walking out of your car like in the parking lot, like holy shit.
Oh, it was,
Should I do this? Excuse me, guys. Just love
it
so
was,
passionate about this.
It was pretty nerve-wracking, especially because I'm like such a shy, like introverted person. But when like as soon as I got into the convention, like
But in like the steps to the convention, like out of your car, were you like doubting, like maybe I should take this off?
yeah, well, yeah, no, I was like, I mean, I have a change of clothes like in my car.
Just
Should
in
I take
case?
it off? Like, yeah. I think I actually like brought it in my backpack, like just in case like there was
No one else
dressed up. But like as soon as I got in there and I saw like, you know, dozens and dozens of people like in costume, and like even like people would wave at me and be like, oh hey, like other like, you know, Fairy Tail cosplayers
Yeah, right.
would wave at me and like say like, oh, like nice Natsu, and, like
Super cool, right?
yeah, it definitely just like washed,
thank goodness.
washed away that nervousness like
Right.
so fast.
Let me put back my old clothes.
But yeah, I mean, like if you do it because you like love that character and you want to express that, then like no amount of like nervousness or anything should keep you from showing that love, because people are receptive to that. And like they will accept that and embrace that. And
Yeah, no, like, especially in this day and age, like I mean, like cosplay is so like big right now. I feel like if you want to cosplay, just get in cosplay. You won't even have the fear that like show we had, because that is like the main highlight of the convention now. They always do cosplay. You know, I feel like it's really rare. I mean, I don't know any con that runs like pop culture that doesn't have cosplay in it.
Like at all?
Yeah, I don't know any. Like it's like a.
No, I don't know.
I mean, I'm talking about like Comic-Con and like Anime Expo. You know, the bigger like those cons. But I'm sure there's like cons like
Harry Potter.
Well,
even those people. I feel like. I mean,
they
yeah,
do. I'm
for
pretty
sure.
sure. Because the thing is that I feel like back to what we were discussing at the beginning, cosplay is so very much entwined with like nerd culture, nerd pop culture,
which
that
is in now.
It's like very much, yeah, and that's the thing, and I feel like that's why we're seeing so much growth for it. But I feel like if you have any sort of like niche, like nerd considered activity where there's like characters and stuff like that, I feel like cosplay will definitely pop up. If it hasn't before, I feel like now more than ever.
But okay.
Or maybe you could be the first.
Yeah.
Start that trend.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. But I mean, I want to go back to the topic of like the making and the buying. So like, what's your take on that?
I feel like that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, I
to be
think
honest.
we should save that for another
Like,
episode.
It's a good topic to
Let us
discuss,
know, guys.
but like that's definitely a whole thing.
Let's see. I remember my first experience, like, but since we're gonna save that spicy topic for the next episode. I just want to share with my experience. My first time cosplaying. I cosplayed Zack, and surprisingly, although that's like it's a Final Fantasy franchise, Zack was from Final Fantasy VII, which is a Final Fantasy franchise. Despite it being such a popular franchise, there was no like available like store-bought outfit for it. So I went to like Goodwill and like Walmart and like just kind of looked at the character and tried to buy something similar to it, close to it.
When was this?
This was 2009, so it was 9 years ago. And I remember the first time I didn't have the feeling you had, where it was like, oh, I'm not gonna like not dress. I was more like, I'm gonna, cause I feel like it's because I've gone to cons before.
Was
it was my first con.
Oh, okay,
con and
your
you
first
cosplayed
con.
at your
And
first
first
con?
cosplay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's impressive.
That's very
Yeah.
ballsy. Oh, kudos! Come on, you guys, give her a clap. I feel like it's because if you go to con, like we're not saying. I mean, you should definitely cosplay, but I feel like once you've gone to a con and cosplayed, you'll never go back to a con and not cosplay.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like it depends on the reason why you're cosplaying, but for the majority of the time, I would agree.
I feel well, back to the topic of like why you cosplay, because like for the love of it, it's like if you're in love, it's like you're never gonna go. That expression doesn't change. So I think but
Love is not giving up.
there you go. Now that's it. Dropping some knowledge right here, deep thought.
Yeah, hitting the feels.
But no, yeah, I think after going to a con and seeing that other people are dressing up and like expressing their love for it, it kind of makes it like you feel like you're not alone in this, what do you call it, love for a character or this fandom, And so it's really cool, I think. So if any of you guys listening over here haven't gone to con, definitely check it out. You know, especially if you're into like, well, if you guys listen to us, you guys are definitely into like, you know, geek culture. Check it out.
Yeah, if you haven't been, you should go.
Mm-hmm.
There's more
Try out a
cons
cosplay.
now than there ever was before.
And there's more people cosplaying than there ever.
Exactly. There's just so many opportunities. Like, and like we were saying, nerd culture is becoming more mainstream. I think it's easier to find people, again, like now more than ever, that care about the things that you do. And I feel like with it being more socially acceptable, there's no reason why you can't connect with more people that love what you love.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in this day and age where we have social media, it's just connecting. Like it's just you know, being there and having that first initial human interaction, at least like at the con site, and then connecting with them in social media. It's just really cool. It's not like, I guess, back in the day where it's like, hey, I mean, when I started cosplaying back in 2009, social media wasn't that prominent, and I feel like because of that aspect of it, it was more like, hey, I love your cosplay, but you know, maybe I'll never see you again. And so you never really made friends. There was no like real substance. But I feel like in this day and age, it's more...
It's really easy to connect.
Yeah.
It's extreme. Well, with like Instagram and Facebook, definitely. Because for me, back in the day, I mean, like, I never really made cosplay friends when I was originally
when did you start making friends?
2014 through Facebook.
I know that's pretty recent.
But I mean,
Yeah.
like beforehand too, like I didn't really make friends because like I also just am garbage at making friends. But my
You made us.
I know, in this day and age, thank God. But back then, one of my good friends, Ellie, who goes to conventions with me like a whole lot, was able, I mean, she's a very friendly, like warm person anyway, so making friends is easier for her. But I believe like how she made contact with friends over time was through DeviantArt, and I think that was like our only method of social media.
In a way, yeah. In a way, that's like that was a social media platform.
Yeah, and that was like I know that was like the big thing that a lot of people communicated by. That was like, I feel like that was sort of like the equivalent of what Instagram is now, where people were sharing like.
Well, I mean,
art
like in
and stories
DeviantArt
and
was more
cosplay
like
kind of.
for like artistic social media.
Yeah, which I mean,
But
like,
isn't cosplay
which
an
is
art?
yeah, but like back then, so like everyone would like draw and have their own characters and stuff like that, and share that, and then that's how people would talk about characters. At least like how I experienced it was that like back then, the majority of nerd expression back then was like drawing and stuff like that, because drawing was a fairly accessible way of expressing yourself creatively.
Yeah.
And expressing your love for characters was like fan art and like making characters, or like, you know, just creating something. And I think with cosplaying becoming easier and social media and everything, I feel like that medium and that expression is now shifting towards actually like becoming characters and like face-to-face
Cool.
interactions.
Yeah. Do you want to add on to that?
No. I was never on DeviantArt. I have no artistic drawing abilities.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
okay. But now you cosplay, so you can,
Yeah.
you can get back. On
and now
DeviantArt.
I connect through like Instagram. And, like,
Yeah, because that's.
It's
more
a lot
common.
easier to like shoot someone a DM and be like, oh, are you going to this convention? Like,
Yeah.
can we meet?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's how we met.
Yep.
That's so funny.
I mean, it works. Here we are.
There you go. Like this
Yeah.
is like tried and true. Yeah.
But yeah, all right, guys. I think we are going to.
Are we leaving already?
Yeah, I know, so sad, but we'll be back.
Okay.
And maybe we'll talk about the making versus buying cosplays.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
That'll be a very
So-
interesting topic.
Yeah, and shoot us some questions if you guys have topics on that, because we really want to get you guys' feedback and like listen to your guys' opinions and thoughts.
Yes. So if you have questions or anything, like we want to make this a community for you guys to share your love and to, you know, just talk about it. So you can find us.
Talk about it.
Yeah, talk about it.
Yeah.
So you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Give them the handle.
Yeah, at Otaku Bout It.
Yeah.
Or Otaku Bout It podcast on Facebook. Or shoot us an email at otakuboutitpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to have that anonymity. And, you know, we'd love to hear your questions, and we'll definitely feature them on the show.
Definitely. And we're working towards like, so right now this is our early stage, but we're working towards basically we're having more like a community space in which you guys send us messages, like straight up, like a hotline kind of.
Yeah.
Answer it, and they're like, you know, we really want to hear what you guys had to say, because I feel like this community it's growing, and we kind of like want to hear everyone else's opinion, because everyone has a story, and so, you know, I think that's really cool to be able to like hear you guys' story.
Yeah. So if you have a story you want to share, or you just want us to talk about,
or like have questions we can answer to
yeah.
you, like
any and everything, we'll talk about it.
all right.
All right. Well, Steph, thank you for
Thanks for
joining
coming
us.
Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
And we will see you guys in the next episode. We'll talk again soon.
All right.
Bye.